Hello, welcome to Topper Machine. I'm Josh Topper. In today's video, we are going to do the answers to all the questions you guys asked in the Q&A posts. There was a lot of great ones, and we're just going to get into it, and we're going to try to do this all in one take. So I printed off all the questions. We have them all right here that were in the post, the two posts. We did two Q&A posts, drumming up questions, great questions. And the very first one I'm going to address here is, how did the fellow's machinery auction go? I can't help but think he's still got a building full. So my friend John, his auction was a month, 2 months ago. It's been a while. And he sold almost everything. The only thing left in that building was the CNC burn table, the Cincinnati Millicron Turning Center, and I think just a couple little things. I mean, not much left. The couple big ticket items, the big stuff that didn't sell, the machinery mover bought and scrapped them, so they're gone, they're out of the building. He's sitting really well. Still got the building he's trying to sell, still trying to either sell off the product line or, you know, keep it going. He's not sure yet. He's still working through that. But yes, the auction went really well. He did very well. I bought a few things. I bought some really good stuff that we'll eventually use in some videos, but that was a good auction. It went really well. So, well, next question. Hi, Josh. What machine equipment do you have in mind for when, if the small Monarch goes to a new home? Or what is your dream next machine, if there is one? If I let go of the small Monarch, when I let go, and it'll probably be here fairly soon, I'm not replacing it. I have the Lion and I have the bigger Monarch, and I really don't need a small lathe. I just don't have a need for it. So there's no need to replace it. I'm actually going to be getting rid of a Bridgeport and the Shaper. I'm working on a deal with a guy to let that go as well. So I'm looking to downsize some equipment, get rid of it. I'm not looking to replace anything just yet. If I do, it's going to be for a larger vertical milling machine. So another bigger manual milling machine, which I could definitely use. What kind of jobs do you always immediately refuse without hesitation, and why? So that's a good question. I've done a few videos of some parts that, and I've expressed it how much I don't like doing it. Automotive, anything automotive. It's always takes such specialized equipment that I don't have. A machine shop is not an automotive machine shop. There's a lot of specialized equipment. Yes, you can do some stuff, but I don't do it. I just don't want to do it. You know, engine work really isn't my focus. Unless it's steam engines or early stuff, I'll do that. But for the most part, it's just not worth it to me to do it when there's an automotive machine shop in Rice Lake 45 minutes away that can do this job for way less than I can. I get that call quite a bit of, you know, can you do this? And I'm like, yeah, I can do it. It's going to cost this. Oh, well, that's way more than, you know, so-and-so quoted. I said, well, then why are you calling me? Take it there. Well, I thought I could get it cheaper. No, I just won't touch it. It's not worth my time. I do bigger stuff and, you know, the things that people with small machines can't do. All right, moving on. Are you having fun? You look satisfied when you were machining. I enjoy what I do. I love doing this. There are days where I hate it, but that's a job. I do. I enjoy it. I get to work on some really cool stuff. I get to do some cool stuff, so I really do enjoy it. Have you ever done wrong the first time? Yes, I have. And what was the most expensive mistake you've made? That one, I'd like to say it cost me about $5,000. You know, cost of doing business. You screw something up, you got to pay for it. You got to deal with it. There's a local shop in town that, well, they're no longer in business. They screwed up a part for me once, and it cost me $20,000. They wouldn't stand behind the work at all. That was before I had my own shop, and that was the reason I started my shop, is because of that company in Spooner. So luckily they're long gone, not doing this crooked stuff anymore. What big jobs have you declined to do? There's not much. I can do quite a bit in here, pretty good capacity, so there isn't much that I turn down. I think the only thing I can think of is them trunnion wheels I do. There are some that are 49 inches in diameter. I can't do those. Other than that, there hasn't been much I haven't been able to do. Who did you apprentice under? I worked in a tool and die shop right out of high school, while I was in high school, and I learned as much as I could there. And what's the most rewarding aspect of what you do? I'd say just taking a piece of, raw metal and turning it into a part that's saving my customer's butt. Quite honestly, everything I do here is always something that is keeping one of my customers from continuing on their daily work. And some of these jobs are essential to keeping a multi-million-dollar operation going. So without these parts, they could be down for a while. That would cost jobs, and hurting the economy in our region even further than it already is. As I've said many times, this is a very depressed region. So keeping these big companies that I work with that are local here going is very important and very rewarding to me. All right, moving on. Speaking on internal shop operation discussions, not customers or specific job, what are some regrets you've had over the years? There's been a lot of regrets. Honestly, one of my biggest regrets is getting into this too far. I should have pulled out of this region a long time ago. I love it here, but there's just not enough work here, not enough industry. So building this business and staying here was probably one of my biggest regrets. Even though I love it, even though the customers I have are great, they're just as barely enough to keep a shop really going. That's why we've lost so many shops in this region in the last, 10 years that it's not funny, and I'm basically the last one left. So it's been good for me that way. I'm doing okay, but staying here was probably, business-wise, one of my biggest regrets. All right. How do you manage risk? Another viewer asked, if you turn away work, no one is perfect. If you attempt to repair or rework a high-value part, if it goes upside down, how do you protect yourself? And you end your videos by saying, do it right the first time. Okay. Risk is one of those things that every job has risk. And if the risk is too great, I may turn it away or just tell the customer right out, we may not be able to fix this. 99% of the time I've been able to fix it and make it work. If I screw something up, a lot of the times it can be fixed. It's very rare that I have had something that I haven't been able to fix. If I cut too deep on something, you can weld up a shaft and remachine it, or just grab another piece of material and make another one. So a lot of that stuff is, how do I protect myself? Well, that's experience, just knowing when to say no, or having extra material on hand, or cash in the bank, having some extra assets to cover big screw ups. As I said earlier, my biggest mistake cost me like $5,000 or something. I was able to cover that out of pocket. Yes, it hurt and it took a while to recover, but that was one of those deals. And do you tap the brakes or do a lot more planning or assessment before starting a high-risk job? Do you warn the customer that the job may not be successful? And yes, we did cover that already. Do you have a reserve fund to cover unexpected problems? I already covered that as well. Yes, we do. Turn it down. So yeah, we covered all that stuff. Next question. What are some of the little extra touches you add to make sure your customer go away happy and return for more? One of the things I notice the most, and absolutely the most, is I focus on a surface finish. Always giving a good surface finish. Whether it be a turned shaft, whether it be a milled plate, always the best surface finish. Even if the drawing doesn't call for it, it doesn't take much to slow down a little bit and leave a better surface finish. And that has helped me out so many times. I've had jobs where I've sent out that the customer told me I should charge more because it was such a beautiful piece because of the mirror finish, that they've never seen another shop do that quality of work. And it's that surface finish, that sparkle, always seems to draw the customer. They love it. Next question, are mini mills lathes a good way to start or a waste of money? This one is a very tough one. Depends on what you're doing. I personally have run mini mill, mini lathe, and I think they're garbage. But then again, you guys watching my videos have seen the cuts I take, so there's a reason for that. You can't do the work that I do on a mini mill or mini lathe. You need something substantial, and quite honestly, for the cost of a good used machine, you can buy an old Gearhead Monarch, an American, a LeBlond, good machines, not talking your South Bends, your Clausings, that kind of stuff. I'm talking good machines, production machines. You can buy them cheaper than you can buy a mini mill or a mini lathe if you have the room for it. So consider that. But yes, they do have their place. If you're doing watchmaking or model building and stuff like that, they'd be great for you. Space, they'd be an okay machine. All right, if you were selling one of your vertical mills, would you cut me a deal on it? Not that I have the space for it or would use for it after the missus murders me for buying another expensive toy. So I thought this would be my friend Randy. It's not. So actually one of the vertical mills is going to be leaving, and it is going to my friend Randy. So no, I'm not going to cut you a deal, and I'm not going to sell you one of my mills. And if you do buy one, good luck not getting murdered. I've come across that myself. I may be a ghost. We're not sure. Hey Josh, appreciate your channel. Ever done any drive shaft or prop work? Just curious. So I did do a prop shaft for my father-in-law. We actually straightened it in the Monarch lathe. So it just had a couple thou bend in it, and we straightened that out. He's done a lot of work to get that sailboat working right. It's a Island Packet 380, just a beautiful boat. And the problem that I discovered on it was actually a bad injection pump, which I know he wants to do everything else before that injection pump, but I know it's the injection pump is bad, causing him problems. There was significant vibration, a definite cutout, and I know that's the injection pump. I've dealt with that before, but yes, I did straighten a prop shaft. I've never done a prop. It's just not something I see much here, and there isn't much of that happening up in the Twin Ports anymore. It's really, really dead. All right, next one. When are you firing the Sawmill videos back up? Oh God, when I have time. Things have been crazy, so there hasn't been much time to do anything that I want to do. The Sawmill is something I really enjoy, and it's been a tough year. I wanted to get going on building the sawmill shed. I don't think that's happening this year. It's just been too busy here in the shop. With the few local shops closing up, I've been seeing more and more stuff, so that's helped, but there just hasn't been time. It's been kind of hectic. All right, next one. I remember him telling about the local newspaper refusing him advertising in the newspaper because he had a bigger competitor in the area that most likely told the editor not to allow. Yes, that is true. I think this goes with another one. Ah, there it is. Does work come to you, or do you have to advertise? How large an area do you serve? Are you connected with a trade school or career tech center? So I've tried advertising in multiple ways, and as the other comment here was, yes, the local newspaper did deny me because of another local competitor that shall remain nameless. And as far as my service area, I generally, within 100 miles of home, will go and pick up stuff myself. Outside of that is shipping and that. I have customers in Pennsylvania, California, Washington, so I'm all over the country. I also have parts all over the world. I have parts in Japan, South America, Africa that I know of. So Hawaii, I've shipped parts to Hawaii before. Small ones and big ones. I had a big one I did years ago that started out as 800 pounds, and when I was done with it, it didn't change much in size, but I had to lighten it up, drill a whole bunch of holes to lighten it up. I had to lighten it up to 200. It was 260 pounds when it was done, so they could load it on a small plane and fly it to one of the outlying islands. So, done some pretty cool stuff. All right, now, next one. When the cutting edge starts to squeal, how hard is it on the spindle bearings of the lathe, mills, and CNCs? Can the back end of tool holders be drilled and tapped and filled with steel lead shot and soft plugs to cut down on harmonics, or when square tool posts on lathes are used? Can an empty tool position be loaded with a damper? When the cutting edge starts to squeal, generally signifies it's dull. Is it hard on the bearings and stuff? I don't think so. I've been doing this a long time. I've ran with dull inserts just to finish a job, because it's all I had. I had a job years ago that was so hard that what I found worked. It was an interrupted cut. I couldn't go to a better insert, for hardened material. It was induction hardened shaft. I hand ground some carbide inserts to do that, and I had to keep hand grinding them to get through that interrupted cut. That may have been hard on stuff, I don't know, but it didn't show any signs over the years after doing it, so I don't think so. Can the back end of tool holder be drilled and tapped, filled with steel or lead shot, and a soft plug? Yes, that is something a lot of guys will do when they're making their own boring bars, is drill them, pack them full of cast iron swarf or shot, whatever, and then plug them. And an empty tool position in a square tool post. Well, I haven't used a square tool post in so many years, so I don't know. I don't know that it would help you much. I think putting your damper on your tool would help you. What type of cutting oil do you use in your horizontal mill? And have you gotten your shaper going yet? So in the horizontal mill, I'm running automatic transmission fluid. It's a high detergent to help clean that out. Yep, besides, but it is working as an amazing cutting oil. So it's really working well. And the shaper is actually for sale. Working on a deal right now to try to move that along. So hopefully that goes through. Since I bought the vertical slaughter, I haven't needed the shaper. That's the shaper I need right there, is the vertical slaughter. How do you go about quoting your work? Like if you're doing a small production run of parts, do you do it by piece or by the hour? So quoting work is an interesting one. I do it probably the same as a lot of people and differently from a lot of others. When I quote work, I look at the job and base it on experience of how much time it takes to do the operations, and then just divide it by my hourly rate. Sometimes there's tooling costs involved, so then you got to add that in, and it's really not an easy formula, but I look at similar jobs from the past, experiences, things like that, to help judge the time it's going to take. and the tooling it's going to take, and then, you know, assess a dollar amount from there. How did you learn the machining trade, business, apprenticeship, trade school, family business? Some history of your career would be interesting. I started out in high school working in a punch press shop that also did tool and die work, making gun parts, and working with an old tool and die maker, and learned a lot from him. Moved on from there. A few years after high school, it was after 9/11 actually, when things went to crap. Then I moved on. I went to an OEM of construction equipment, worked my way up to lead machinist, left there, started my shop in 2012, and then started getting a whole bunch of work from them until the new owner of the business ran the place into the ground. So there was not really an apprenticeship, no family business at all. It just by doing it and, you know, getting a job in high school and learning from there. So how do you deal with annoying friends that want you to do stuff for free? This is from my friend Randy. I tell you to go away. Not a lot of my friends expect me to do stuff for free, except Randy sometimes, but, you know, it is what it is. How are the bees doing this year? The bees are doing very well. We've had a good wet year so far, so everything is growing nicely. We had 2 hives that overwintered. I ordered in 2 packages of Saskatraz bees, which are Canadian bred for extreme cold, and they're doing really well. I've been very impressed with those, so I'm thinking we're going to get some honey this year. We'll see how it goes. We got 87 pounds last year. I'm hoping to double or triple that this year. With the way things have been staying wet and growing, I think there's a possibility. Do you also do some welding for customers? Yes. That whole back shop is nothing but a weld shop. We do a lot of welding, a lot of different stuff. All right, we're burning through these quick. I just got to figure out where I'm at. Okay, I think I'm going to start on that one. Yeah. In watching the videos on Worldwide's auction, sad, I was thinking of breading in Ashland. Do you ever team up with them or do things they don't do? I grew up in northern Wisconsin, live in Montana now. Mills are closing here, and it looks grim. Anyway, I'd like to hear how you compare, compete, collaborate with breading, if at all. I don't claim to know exactly what they do, but I know they do machining of intricate stuff. So breading is a no-go, an absolute no-go. I have nothing good to say about them. I've worked with them in the past and I've been screwed over royally, so I will not ever work with them again, and I kind of advise others to do the same. Just not a good experience whatsoever. Have you done a video on your big Johnson saw, or will you in the future? So the Johnson, it's been featured many times, my big, dirty, filthy Johnson. It's been a great saw. Maybe I will do a short video just to show the whole saw. I don't know what year it is. I know it's older. Their Johnson was bought out or merged with Kaiser in the 70s, I think it was, and now they're owned by Dake, and they still make that same saw. So they're a great saw. I've been very happy with mine. I know others that have them and hate them, but once you get them set up and working, I was cutting 6-inch round, holding 5/1000ths on straightness through the whole cut. So very happy with it. I haven't had issues with it at all. What's the smallest job that's worth your time? That one's hard to say. You know, a small job can be profitable if it all depends. So that one's hard to answer. Have you got another apprentice lined up when your current one leaves? So that's a great question. We just hired on another young man who he is through the youth apprenticeship, very interested. He's worked 2 days already, and he's ready to learn. He's ready to go. Connor's kind of showed him a few things. Connor's going to be here for few more months. Vincent, he's got vacations this summer, and then family vacations and football practice. He's big into sports, so as he has time, we're going to bring him in, kind of get him working with Connor a little bit, and then once Connor's gone, then he'll be more the steady apprentice. So yes, we are working with another apprentice. So right now we have Connor, and Vincent is going to be the new one. Is there going to be an unmasking of Connor when he leaves? No. So Connor is going into the military. And what we discussed and what we decided is to keep his identity private, for the simple reason that he's going to defend our country. Having his face out there might not be a good thing, but what if he wants to go into military intelligence? That he needs his privacy for. So no, we're not going to unmask Connor. And we're going to do the same with Vincent. Try to, he's under 18, protect his identity. Once he turns 18, if he decides he wants to do it, great. But Connor and I have discussed it with the military. We're just not going to do it. It's something to protect him, and that's his wishes. Let's see. Can I have or buy your machines once you retire? I'm learning about machining and just need the machines and someone to teach me. I'm self-taught on everything I do, and I just want a shot to prove myself. No, you can't have my machines. And when I retire, you're looking at another 25 years. I'm 42 years old right now, so I got a ways to go. And if you're learning, keep learning. Read books, get out there and work, get a job in a machine shop, just deburring parts. Learn that way. There's so much you can learn just by being in a shop environment, just paying attention. Do you own a boat or go fishing in your free time? So yes, we do have a boat. I haven't used it in 2 years. My stepkid pretty much leaves it hitched to his car. I haven't had time. I enjoy fishing. What I enjoy more than fishing in the boat is actually fly fishing, taking the fly rod out in a river and in the waders and doing that. I love fly fishing. Again, something I haven't been able to do. I'm hoping to do it here next week. So actually going on a little family trip, and I'm taking the waders and the fly rod and going to see if I can catch a trout or two. How are you planning for retirement? What is your vision for 10 years from now? Well, I'm sure not retiring in 10 years. Retirement plan, I'm saving everything I can. It's as I've said before, this is a depressed region. It doesn't cost a lot to live here, but you gotta be tough. I mean, a lot of people have moved here because they see the cost of living is lower, and then they don't make it a year because it's tough here. So money-wise, it doesn't take a lot to retire here. I know people who have been retired for 40 years. Honestly, 40 years. They're still living in their own home. They're healthy. They don't have a dime to their name. They've just got Social Security. So my wife and I, we both have retirement plans set up that we're contributing to. So we are working that. My vision for 10 years from now, keep doing what I'm doing. I would like to see the shop grow, but the honest truth is I don't think it will. I'm just going to be myself and an apprentice, plugging along and doing what I can. Let's see, so there was a follow-up comment here. Is there a retirement plan for a small business owner in his area? He talked about the great crisis for businesses where he lives in a recent video. So many mechanical shops have closed, and he was advised to move to another state if he wanted to flourish in business. So, again, I'm just going to keep plugging away. I like it here. The cost of living is low. I enjoy the life I have here. Turning this shop into something that is more than, say, 3 guys total is not in my plan at all. I don't ever want to get that big. I want to keep it small so I can enjoy life. And, you know, quite honestly, I'm enjoying things the way they are. You know, it's busy now, but I do enjoy what I do. Have you ever taken on a job that you thought you could do but had to return to the customer not finished? Yes and no. There have been a few jobs that over the years that I've almost returned, and then I came up with a plan and still got the job done. May have taken me a little longer, may have cost me a little more money. I would have, you know, didn't make as much on it, but I consider that a great learning experience. So much value can be taken from taking on a job that you thought you could do, it didn't work out, but finding a different solution. And those experiences have carried over to other jobs and really helped me do things that I shouldn't be doing, to be honest with you. How did you get involved with the machinist trade, and how old were you? Let's see, I talked about that already with the punch press shop I worked in, and I was 16 when I started there. Was I 16? No, I was 17. I think I turned 17 that summer. What horror stories do you have, and what triumphs that looked like horror in the beginning but turn out better than perfect? You know, I honestly can't think of many. I've had a few jobs that have cost me some money in the end. Like we talked earlier about that one that, you know, I shelled out like $5,000 out of pocket because I screwed it up. It happens. Move on. It's life. Learn from it. There's been a couple of jobs that we thought were going to go totally bad, quoted it totally bad, and then it went super simple, and I actually gave the customer a huge break on the quote. Just said, you know, this went way better than I expected. We're not charging you what I quoted you because that's not right. I'm not like a few other shops in my area that are unmentionable. What tolerance do you try to meet other than what is on the print, if there is a print? I try to hold as close to a thou or better. Unless the print calls for plus or minus 5, then I aim for plus or minus 2. You know, I always try to hold as close to tolerance as possible, even if the drawing calls out a fractional tolerance, which is plus or minus a 32nd mostly. A lot of the drawings I've seen from a couple of customers, 30 seconds, some are a plus or minus a 64th. I still try to hold a few thou every time. I just, you know, and I think that goes back to that question of what little things do you do to keep the customers coming back. I think that is that. And what brand beer do you like? I don't drink much anymore. I do occasionally, but not like I used to in my younger days. And I bought a 6-pack of Michelob Amber Bock recently, and I enjoyed it thoroughly. So, other than that, I think I'm good for about 3 or 4 or 5 months before I'll have another. Doesn't really interest me anymore to drink, even though I do love the taste of beer. Can you see the northern lights from your area? Yes. It's not very common. We're in an area that's always very overcast. I can think of 2 times in my life here that I've seen the northern lights, and one time was this spectacular green and red, absolutely beautiful, dancing in the sky, and the other time was this, I think it was reds. When everybody was seeing the northern lights, when this question was done, we didn't see any of them. It was one of those things, well, we caught a little bit of it, barely. You could barely see it. Everybody was seeing it through their cameras on their phones, and that's not how you view the northern lights, I don't think. My wife is the same way. She says, I don't want to see them that way. I want to see them, actually see them. So we did see the Northern Lights a few times over the years, and we did see them during that, just barely. But it's pretty cool. Are you going to replace the green lathe? And if so, what will you get? No, my plan is not to replace the little green Monarch. I am going to be selling it. I have the bigger green Monarch, and I have the Lion that does pretty much everything I do. I ran the experiment seeing if I even need the little Monarch, and I really don't. So I will be selling that. And what is the price of gas there? Let's see, I just ran to town this morning, and I think I saw like $3.50 something at the Quick Trip. So that means the Mobile and Trigo is going to be about 20 cents less than that. And I refuse to buy gas from Quick Trip. It is so overpriced. You can find it anywhere else, better price and better quality. I've been getting my gas at Mobile, and I've gotten 3 to 5 miles to the gallon better on my Toyota Tacoma. So I'm done with Quick Trip. Biggest regrets business-wise? Let's see, we already covered that one. It's basically building the business and staying here. I'm kind of stuck here, and like I said, I love the region. I love it here. There isn't much work here, so it's very tough. Do you think you need a bigger lathe than the Lion, or do you just limit the job to suit the Lion? I could use something bigger. There are times. I would love a 52-inch vertical boring mill or vertical turret lathe, because I do know that there's a couple of jobs for that, but not enough to justify me getting one. Most part, everything I see falls into this envelope. So when I had the big Monarch, it was about the same size. It was a little bit longer on the bed, but it didn't have the spindle bore. So the Lion has been the absolute best upgrade to that big Monarch I had. Spindle speed, spindle reverse, all that stuff. Monarchs, the gearhead Monarchs do not have reverse. You cannot safely reverse them. It will destroy the clutches in the headstock, so you just don't want to do it. What is your favorite brand of tooling, lathe or mill? Monarch lathes are the top, absolute top. As far as mills, I like that Cincinnati I have, but my Cincinnati horizontal with the vertical milling attachment, I like that. I like the Bridgeports. They're a good all-around, just small mill. But I am looking at some other options. Do you have any local tooling suppliers? No, none whatsoever, and I can't even get them to drive out here and talk to me. The ones that are in the Twin Cities would be the closest. What is the machine you like the most but never really gets used? They all get used. I can't think of one that I didn't turn on in the last 3 weeks. And I like them all. The Slaughter, I think, is my absolute favorite, but it's getting a lot of use. Is there a wish list of machines and or tooling that you would like to have? What gets you the most work? Oh, okay. But machines, as far as machines, the vertical turret lathe or the vertical boring mill would be the one I would like to get, and a bigger vertical milling machine. I think the bigger vertical mill will be the first thing I ever. That's probably going to be one of the machines I buy in the next couple of years. And what gets you the most work, machine shop or weld shop? The machine shop, but the weld shop is very, very close second. It's like a 60-40 split, so it's there's quite a bit. With Connor shipping out the end of summer, you're going to continue to offer the apprenticeship. Thoughts on that going forward? So yes, I am going to continue. We have Vincent starting out. He's showing great promise, and I still am working with the high school. Mr. Tischer with the shop teacher, we're working together, and I am giving a bunch of tooling to the school. So if you want to contribute to that, you can do a PayPal donation, and I'll put your money towards buying tools for the school machine shop. He's doing a great thing there, and he's helping these kids, and Vincent's coming in with, he's been on the lathe, he's been on the mill, he's he's got some experience, and he's, so far, the 2 days he's worked, he's shown some great promise. So I'm very excited about what Mr. Tischer is doing there at the high school and with the kids he's teaching and working with the apprenticeship. I think it's a great program. Any great stories about customers that had sticker shock? I know I always get a chuckle afterwards when a prospective customer says, "But it's just," while trying to get me to do their work for less than material. I had one a couple of years, quite a few years ago now. He brought me this boat trailer and asked me to put the winch on it for him, to drill it and bolt it on, and it took a half hour. Took a half hour plus the bolts. And you know, anybody who's in this business knows that any job needs to be billed at shop rate, because if you're walking away from a shop rate job, you're losing money to do a crappy little job like that. I charged him $40, which was less than shop rate. And I quoted him $40 before I even started it. He goes, "Well, that seems awful high." And I'm like, it's a half-hour job, minimum. And, "Oh, okay, we'll do it." And then he comes back and he gets it, and he just bitched the whole time he was giving me the $40. "Well, it was just a few holes and a couple bolts." That's not what it is. That I gotta get the tools together, gotta do the job, put the tools away, bill for it. It all takes time. It was a little better than a half hour, and I didn't even charge him shop rate. It's aggravating when people do that. How do you sharpen your drills and cutting accessories? So a lot of my cutting tools are tossed in a bin and sent out for sharpening. Drills, on the other hand, I hand sharpen those as of right now, but I am getting a drill grinder at some point. I've been dealing with a guy on one, so hopefully we can get that. I think it goes up to a 3-inch capacity. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but... Are you doing much with railroad work? I know you don't film much of that, but it's always good content when you do. So there had been a lot of problems with the railroad videos with threats from the Federal Railroad Administration of fines. Those guys are awful. I have not dealt with a single FRA inspector that is even pleasant, to put it mildly. And so instead of risking a $5,000 or a $10,000 fine per incident, that they would use the video as evidence. So if they saw something they didn't like on the video, oh, there's an incident. Another thing in the video, oh, there's another incident. You could quickly rack up $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 in fines. It's not worth it to me. And so I'm not doing any more of the railroad videos. There'll be some stuff like walkthrough tours. We're going to do a walkthrough tour of the Mark Twain Zephyr. We'll do a few things like that, but operational stuff, no more. I still do a lot of contract work with the few railroads I work with. I've been doing a lot of tie inserting. I run a tie inserter for one of the railroads. I did a few hundred ties a couple weeks ago. I got 400 ties to do next week. I'll do that on Monday. So, you know, there's work. There's railroad work, but it's not stuff I can film and I feel safe sharing just because of that. Let's see, that sheet's done. 2 to go. I wonder how long this video is going to be. What is your plan for the day when you decide you need to move or are forced to move for some reason from that depressed area? You seem to like the area, but you hate winter and it's tough to do business. I ask because I was forced to move my family 1,000 miles south due to a big layoff in 2002, economic downturn, and town spiraled down. Never recovered. I had no plan. I'm not moving. Everything's paid for. I have no debt. We're just taking the money from our mortgage payment, putting it into a savings, retirement plans. You know, every spare penny goes into you know, investments that have yield, you know, like CDs and, you know, mutual funds, things like that. So we're not moving. We have set ourselves up to be able to live here permanently. You know, like I said, the place is all paid for. You know, we may travel more. Well, if things really turn to crap, we'll just retire early and you know, enjoy life. That's kind of my thought on it. I've basically what I've seen of this region and how things are dying. That decision was made a long time ago to really focus on the future and safeguard against having to leave. I hate winter, but winter keeps a lot of the riffraff out of here. Do you still need another arbor for the Cincinnati mill? I'm always looking, actually. I'm always looking for more arbors. I definitely would be interested in some more different sizes. I use the horizontal quite a bit. When you talk about being way out in the middle of nowhere, how close is the nearest Walmart? Let's see, Hayward would be the closest, which is a small Walmart, about 35 minutes. Otherwise, Rice Lake is about 45 minutes, and Superior is about an hour. And now, the Dollar General. Those things are on every freaking corner in the Northwoods. I swear to God, they're like Starbucks in the cities. We've got one in town. We've got one out by, so this is kind of a weird area. It's called Webb Lake. It's an intersection out in the middle of nowhere called A&H. And there's like 3 or 4 bars, a little gas station, and now there's a Dollar General there too. There's even a bank there. It's weird. So Dollar Generals are all over the place. I don't even know how they're sustainable. Just about every small town up here has one. Surprisingly not 2. Okay. Would you recommend a trade school before applying for a job in a machine shop? How to get into the trade? Nowadays, most of the trade schools have done away with the manual machining. And quite honestly, if you want to get into the machining trade, go find a job shop and get a job. Honestly, I think the trade schools are great for some stuff, but what can be learned on the job is far greater than what they'll teach you in the trade schools. You're going to learn the basics. You're not going to see the day-to-day operation and the troubleshooting that goes behind it in the tech school. I'm not saying don't do the tech school, but go get a job. Try it out. If you don't like it, you haven't spent any money on the trade school, and you may get paid for a few weeks and find out you don't like it at work in a job shop. So I would just get a job. How can I get a hold of you? That's a good question. Go to my website. Link is in the About page on YouTube here. So my website has all my contact info. If a bigger hammer doesn't work, do you think it's an electrical issue? I've never used a hammer on electrical. And I've troubleshot a lot of stuff over the years. I've never had to use a hammer on an electrical issue. Very rare that I use a hammer sometimes anymore. And most of the time you just got to look at the problem and go, what's causing this? And it's something always stupid and simple. What is your favorite live center? I've got these Skoda clones that are made by TMX, and I actually love those things. They work great. I've had good luck with them. There's a lot of brands out there, but those I've been very happy with. They've held up extremely well in the service I put them through, and I work them pretty hard. Are there any jobs that are too small or too large that you pass on? It's rare that I see any of either, too large or too small. Very rare. And the ones that are too small are generally quantity jobs that I forward on to the CNC shops that I work with. So not really an issue. Last sheet. What did your dad do? You run a machine shop. Your sister's husband runs the transmission shop. Dad must have been into steel too. Is the shop a family business or do you build it yourself? So my dad was a laborer in a factory, a cheese factory. Grew up on a farm. Nobody in my family worked in a shop that I know of. they're just, I'm kind of an odd duck. I'm the black sheep of the family, I'll put it that way. And as far as the shop, it is not a family business. I started it myself completely from the ground up. I built the building in 2006, started adding machines right away with the Bridgeport, the Cincinnati, and the Little Monarch, and then I grew it from there. So I started out the shop full-time in 2012, and I've been growing it ever since. It's been a labor of love. That's all I can say. How about the story of your equipment? When you started your shop, the first 5-6 pieces, and why you chose them? So I kind of went over this, but the first machine I ever bought was the Little Monarch, the very first lathe, the little green Monarch that I'm going to be selling. And then I bought a Bridgeport, the one I use almost daily, and kind of as a hobby. But then that shop in Spooner really screwed me over. It was $20,000. That's what it cost us. And it kind of forced my hand to do something. And then I bought the Cincinnati. Let's see, I bought the Cincinnati. I bought the AV drill next. The Johnson saw was somewhere in there. The bigger Monarch, the second Bridgeport. Can't remember if I had the boring mill or the radial drill first. It's one or the other. Then the slaughter. There's a press brake in the back. The welders, the planer. I got that shaper in there after the slaughter, but I couldn't get the slaughter right away because of COVID and the rioting that was going on in the Twin Cities. So I hardly remember the whole process anymore of what all I've gotten. And the last question here is, what level of education do you need to start in this trade? At least, education's kind of a weird one. Be good at math. Math is a big thing, knowing math. At least a high school diploma. I mean, make it through high school. Get a job in a job shop or go on to tech school, whichever one you prefer. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but getting a job in a job shop first and testing the waters to see if it's something you really want to do is maybe the smart money before going and putting money towards doing tech school and then finding out you don't like it. So that's my take on it. That's what I would suggest. And I'm not saying one is better than the other, just that's what I would do. Well, that's all the questions. Got a lot of great questions. I hope I answered them all to everybody's liking, with enough detail. There was a lot of controversial stuff in there that I've said that I hope nobody takes it too personally. There's everybody has their own opinion on things and different views, and my experience is different than somebody else's. Would I do this all again? Build a shop from the ground up? Probably not. Knowing what I know now, probably not. I enjoy doing this, but I would probably do it on a much smaller scale as a hobby. I probably wouldn't even go into the trade, to be honest with you. I'd probably look at doing something different. One of my biggest regrets in life was not hiring out with the railroads. I've got 25 years, 26, 20, more, quite a few years. Railroad experience, working with short lines and museums. The class 1s are not what they used to be, but I think I could go to a class 2 or class 3 and be happy. And maybe that's what I should have done with my life. I don't know. But I don't think I would go back into this and build this business again. Been a lot of heartache, a lot of stress, and it was tough. It's been a tough go. I'm doing well for myself, but it could be better. But then again, I'm my own boss. I don't have to answer to anybody but my customers. And every day is, you know, it's interesting. Every day is something different. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have more questions, I'll do a follow-up on Wednesday and we'll try to answer them then. And with that, until next time, get out in your shop and get it done right the first time.